boast after the 2003 Premier League and South Manchester City. To outspend rivals and get ahead, you signed Ronaldinho from Barcelona, took Kaká from AC Milan before Inter, and intercepted Cristiano Ronaldo from Manchester United. Now, you're targeting the future king of football, Messi. You and club chairman Bernstein just arrived at La Masia in Barcelona. Right now, Barcelona is in turmoil, and a major event is about to unfold: the club's presidential election. The current Barca president, Gaspart, is on shaky ground, and his main rival is Laporta. When Laporta led Barca, the club saw the peak dream team eras. He seemed destined to be Barca's president. Although his methods were questionable when he returned for a second term and he ended up forcing Messi out, you have to admit, the guy really is quite capable. Now, look at Gaspart. He's made a complete mess of Barca. This season, the team has even dropped to the lower half of the league table. The guy might not be a bad person, but he's really not cut out to be president. The election is set for July, so you have to seize this window of opportunity to quickly secure that La Masia prodigy. And while you're at it, see if there are any other hidden gems in the academy worth picking up. As soon as you arrive in Barcelona, club president Gaspart personally comes out to greet you. With this kind of show, and Barca's performance being so poor, his position as president is hanging by a thread. So, he has to pull off some big moves at the last minute to win over the fans. His choice? To go head-to-head with arch rivals Real Madrid in a battle to sign David Beckham. To be honest, this is kind of your fault. After all, you snatched Ronaldinho, who was Barca's original target. Now both Barca and Real Madrid have raised their offers to 40 million euros. But Manchester United is sitting tight, completely ignoring both bids. This has left Gaspart in a panic. Barca's wallet is nowhere near as deep as Real Madrid's. Their transfer funds are almost depleted. If Real Madrid raises their offer again, then the dream of signing this superstar will be completely over. At this moment, your appearance with Bernstein was practically a lifeline for him. Word was that you wanted to buy Messi from the youth team. Weren't you just a godsend coming to hand over money? Sure, that little Argentine kid had great skills, but as for his physical condition, tisk, he was a dwarf, depended on loads of growth hormone just to get taller, and he seemed to get injured every other day. Whether a player like that could handle the intensity of professional football was really questionable, so Gaspart didn't have any faith in his future at all. If you were willing to offer 10 million euros, he'd take that money and go all in for Beckham. It was practically an epic upgrade. With that thought, he immediately became incredibly enthusiastic towards you and Bernstein. Ah, you two have come such a long way. It must have been exhausting. You smiled gently. Not at all. It's truly an honor to have the president himself receive us. Gaspart grinned like the Buddha. Oh, don't mention it. We're all brothers in the European football family. It's only right that we help each other out, like one big family. Bernstein scratched his head on the side, thinking, this Barca president is way too enthusiastic. It's almost suspicious. After exchanging a few pleasantries with him, you got straight to the point. Mr. Gaspart, as we discussed on the phone, we're interested in buying your youth player, Leo Messi. Gaspart immediately looked thoughtful. Messi is a real treasure for our team. Normally, we wouldn't sell him. But you saw through it. This act was familiar. If he truly didn't want to sell, would he have met us personally? Honestly, he's just waiting for us to make an offer because he wants more money. But people like him are the least worrying when raising the price, right? Well, money isn't a problem for me, so you acted. We have great faith in Messi's future, so we're willing to offer £5 million. Gaspart was overjoyed inside. £5 million. This was already close to the €10 million target he had in mind. This deal could really happen. He immediately put on a troubled expression again. Messi is our future. We really can't bear to let him go. But since you're showing such sincerity, how about this? If you can offer £10 million, we'll part with him, though it pains us. Bernstein, sitting next to him, frowned deeply, thinking that £5 million was already outrageous for a kid not even 16. There were just too many uncertainties about his future. But you didn't even bat an eye. £10 million. Deal. The moment you said that, both Bernstein's and Gaspart's faces changed instantly. Bernstein's heart skipped a beat. £10 million. Boss, this is way too much. This isn't what we agreed on the plane. On Gaspart's side, his heart tightened. He thought to himself, this can't be good. Maybe I set the price too low. But since the words were already out, he could only grit his teeth and agree, even though it pained him. Still, the price was already far beyond his expectations, but just then, you suddenly changed the subject. Mr. Gaspart, actually, I'm also quite interested in another player from your youth team. Gaspart's eyes lit up, thinking, it would be a waste not to take advantage of such a big spender. So he immediately asked, may I ask, Mr. Hua, which of our young talents has caught your eye? Cesc Fabregas? Gaspart was stunned on the spot. This guy spends money so generously it's outrageous, but his eye for talent is also frighteningly sharp. In his view, Fabregas had a much brighter future than Messi, and his technical ability was top-notch, so Gaspart was genuinely reluctant to let Fabregas go. But then again, there's no harm in hearing an offer, right? He rubbed his hands together and said, "Sir, what price are you willing to offer for Cesc?" £8 million. Gaspart was dumbfounded. £8 million, another astronomical sum. He really didn't want to sell Fabregas, but the offer was just too much to refuse. Bernstein, standing nearby, turned completely green. He clutched his chest, feeling as if every organ in his body ached. Seeing that there was a chance, Gaspart decisively tried to take advantage. £12 million. You didn't hesitate to counter-offer. £10 million. Gaspart hesitated for just a second before closing the deal. Bernstein, standing beside him, nearly blacked out on the spot. He almost died right there. Settling things with the club was only the first step. The real challenge was communicating with the players. After all, these two were die-hard fans of La Masia. Just think about how, later on, when Messi was forced to leave, he cried his heart out, utterly devastated. And our loyal comrade Fabregas, back then, was even willing to offend Wenger, just to return to Barca. But you were well prepared. Your trump card was Messi. Wasn't his agent his own father, Jorge Messi? Like all father agents, when it comes to money, he always manages to stir up some trouble. You zeroed in on this weakness and launched a full-on offensive against old man Messi. Of course, your approach wasn't just about throwing money around or offering a high salary. It was a comprehensive package. First, you guaranteed Messi's medical treatment, then you arranged jobs for his family in Manchester. The Messi family was still quite poor at the time. Although they didn't have to worry about medical expenses, he still couldn't support the whole family on his own. As for the salary, you painted a rosy picture for Jorge Messi, a contract with a future weekly wage of up to £15,000. With this combination of offers, Jorge Messi didn't hesitate for a second and happily agreed to your proposal. After securing Messi, you turned your attention to Fabregas, for whom you had a different plan. The reason Cesc wanted to leave in the first place was because he saw no future for himself, so you directly promised him playing time next season. After all, in history, loyal Cesc also left Barca in the summer of this year, so he had no reason to refuse your offer. As expected, after his parents consulted Cesc himself, they finally agreed to let him join Manchester City. After settling all these matters, you finally breathed a sigh of relief. Only then did you drag the pale-faced Bernstein back to England. On June 24th, 2003, Messi's birthday, Manchester City officially announced the signing of the twin stars from Barcelona's youth academy, Leo Messi and Cesc Fabregas, for a combined fee of £20 million. With that, the future Ballon d'Or super squad was finally assembled. The next step was to secure the head coach and strengthen the squad, since you had almost dismantled the entire team. Only goalkeeper Weaver, Sun Jihai, Dunn, and Distin remained as defensive rotation options. Of course, you also kept the soon-to-retire veteran Highland, assigning him as the under-19 coach. The reason, naturally, it was for that Majin Buu 20 years down the line. You already had someone in mind for the head coach position. It was none other than Van Gaal, the chef himself, who had coached Barcelona last season before leaving with honor. As it happened, Bernstein and Van Gaal were old acquaintances, so the negotiations went exceptionally smoothly. When Van Gaal heard he would have 4 prodigies under his command, he was intrigued. In the end, Manchester City secured him with a contract worth £3 million per year, plus bonuses. In the coaching staff, you also brought in a future legendary figure, fitness coach Antonio Pintus. Back in the day, he followed Zidane to build a Real Madrid team that never ran out of steam. In 2017 and 2018, the Galacticos, who won back-to-back Champions League titles, often pulled off last-minute comebacks and dramatic victories, all thanks to him, Pintus. With Van Gaal leading the coaching team, plus fitness coach Pintus and Manchester City's veteran staff, the new season's coaching crew was on fire. Now, it was up to them to see how far they could take the team. Next came a frenzy of squad reinforcements. You spent money with ruthless precision and a sharp eye, making Van Gaal's old heart race with excitement. For the front line, with a grand gesture, you shelled out £15 million. You went straight to Ajax and snatched up the Flying Dutchman, Robin. Then, you splashed out another £16 million to bring in the Cheetah, Eto'o, from Mallorca. For the midfield, you spent £9 million to poach the powerhouse Essien from Bastia in League One. Next, you threw down £18 million to rescue the Galacticos' sacrificial lamb, Makelele, from Real Madrid. It's hard to imagine Makelele in Serie A this new season. His backbone is so strong, he could practically break an opponent's leg with a tackle. You also had the rotation players all sorted out. £6 million to buy Leeds United's tough guy, Olivier Dacour, and then, with another £5 million, You signed Leeds United's 17-year-old youngster, the future evergreen of football, James Milner. You also promoted young Wright and the bad boy Joey Barton from Manchester City's youth academy. On the defensive line, you had already spent £7 million to sign Evra from Monaco, and then used £5 million to bring back the future defensive stalwart Chiellini, who was still playing as a left-back at the time, from Livorno. With £6 million, you brought in the Czech Ironman Ujfalushi from Hamburg, and for £3 million, you poached the future England international Lescott from Wolves' youth system. To meet Van Gaal's demands, you splashed out another £9 million to bring in the 31-year-old defensive giant Stam from Lazio. As for the goalkeeper position, after the retirement of the old Schmeichel, you immediately spent £7 million to sign Cech from Rennes. Unfortunately, due to work permit issues, he wouldn't be able to play for another year, so you turned around and spent £4 million to sign Van der Sar from Fulham. 2 years later, he would go to Manchester United, experience a career renaissance, and become a legendary Red Devils goalkeeper. So right now, Van der Sar is in absolutely top form, and signing him would also annoy your City rivals, making that red-nosed old man struggle with the goalkeeper position for a few more years, truly killing two birds with one stone. After that, you even recalled your nephew, Gascoigne, who was out on loan. Seeing this, all you godfathers who love doing math in class must think something's off. The spending already exceeded £150 million. That's right, as a hardcore pay-to-win player, you topped up another pound, leaving Bernstein dumbfounded as he watched, secretly vowing never to be so stingy again. Time flies, and before you know it, it's July 1st, 2003. On this day, Manchester City held a super luxurious unveiling for their new signings. 6 rising stars, Kaká, Cristiano Ronaldo, Robben, Eto'o, Dacour, and Milner made their debut together, and joining them on stage was... And there was Van Gaal, his face beaming with joy. This summer, you've given him so many surprises. The signings were quick and spot on, making him feel he finally found the right boss to follow. Next to him, Ed Woodward was even more excited. Look at that Brazilian. He's dazzlingly handsome. If he delivers on the pitch, the commercial value will keep pouring in. That's Ed Woodward, former Manchester United CEO, the man who turned United from a powerhouse into a top idol club. Once just a finance worker, you promoted him to Manchester City's CEO. He played a big role in acquiring the club, but you only let him handle commercial development. For the transfer squad, you didn't let him get involved. After watching Kaká, Ed Woodward wiped his mouth and set his sights on Cristiano Ronaldo. This Portuguese player might seem rustic, but with the right packaging, he could be just as marketable. Pairing him with Kaká as a visual C lineup would attract many fans to Manchester City. Ed Woodward's instincts here are sharp. He's already locked in the future commercial core of Manchester City. Then, the press conference began, and a reporter asked, "Mr. Van Gaal, what do you think of these talented players beside you?" Van Gaal couldn't stop smiling. "These are all geniuses I've dreamed of coaching. I will absolutely do everything I can to help them grow." Another reporter followed up. "So, do you think there are any positions in the current squad that still need strengthening?" Van Gaal was quite candid. "I think the front line could still be improved. I hope to bring in another striker." You two had already discussed this, and you'd promised him that at least one more forward would be signed. Another reporter immediately asked, "Since the team has undergone a complete overhaul, what are the goals for this season?" Van Gaal's lips curled into a smile. "Our goal for the new season is to go straight for Champions League qualification." As soon as he said this, the room erupted. Their goal was actually to fight for a Champions League spot. You have to know, this season's Premier League top 4 are Manchester United, Arsenal, Newcastle, and Chelsea, with Liverpool only in 5th. Can this young Manchester City squad really break into the Champions League? Every reporter had a huge question mark in their minds. The press conference ended quickly, but everyone was left hanging, just waiting to see what kind of waves this young Manchester City team would make in the new season. Then, the very next day, July 2nd, another bombshell Premier League news broke. Chelsea made an official announcement. Russia refused to pay, and Roman Abramovich officially took over the Blues, even taking on all their debts. As soon as the news broke, Chelsea fans everywhere went wild. It was like New Year's all over again. Seeing this news, you can't help but feel emotional. The greatest owner in Chelsea's history had finally arrived. Over the next 20 years, Abramovich truly gave his all for the Blues. It's a pity that the ending was so bittersweet. The reporters couldn't sit still anymore. First, the newly rich owners in the Premier League were on a shopping spree. And now, here comes another one. Is this the start of a financial arms race? If so, the Premier League is about to get really interesting. Could it be that the era of Manchester United and Arsenal dominating the league is about to end? No matter what, this summer's transfer window is destined to be spectacular, and your arrival along with Abramovich's truly marks the beginning of a new era in the Premier League. Now, Manchester City's first team squad already has 23 players. The goalkeepers are Van der Sar, Waif, and young Schmeichel. In defense, there's Sun Ji-hai, Dunn, Stam, Uchfalusi, Distin, Lescott, Chiellini, Evra, and Jensen. The midfield is made up of Makalele, Essien, Barton, and Decore. Up front, the lineup is even more star-studded. Cristiano Ronaldo, Kaká, Wright Phillips, Robben, and Ronaldinho. There's also Milner, but up front, there's only Eto'o. Clearly, relying on just Eto'o for firepower up front is a bit thin. Moreover, Van Gaal wants a striker with a completely different style from Eto'o to diversify the team's tactical approach. The first person you think of is the African powerhouse Didier Drogba, but unfortunately, the beast just joined Marseille a few days ago, so poaching him now is basically impossible. Van Gaal did suggest bringing in his former player Kluivert, but after thinking it over, you decided against it, feeling that Kluivert is already starting to decline at this stage. So your attention turns to someone else. This guy is a late bloomer. Once he figured things out, he became unstoppable. Even winning the Serie A Golden Boot at 38, his career kept getting better with age. That's right, it's the Italian force of nature, Luca Toni. He's tall, strong, has solid fundamentals, and lots of experience as a target man. The only thing that worries you is he and Van Gaal didn't get along at Bayern, and you're not sure if meeting earlier would change that. But right now, there aren't many good options left. Legends like Ronaldo, Henry, and Shevchenko are all out of reach. Crespo didn't seem to adapt well, and Vieri had become injury-prone. As for Adriano, let's just forget about that. After weighing your options, you finally decide to take a gamble on Luca Toni. When you and Bernstein show up in Brescia, Italy, even Toni himself is stunned. He never expected a Premier League club to come looking for him, and for a moment, he's at a loss for words. But the lure of playing in a top league is just too great, so he agrees to join Manchester City without a second thought. Even if he has to be a substitute, so what? So, Manchester City decisively pays £4 million to bring Luca Toni from Brescia. In the new season, he will serve as a cavalryman, leading the charge and scoring goals for the team. And just like that, the 24-man first-team roster for the new season is finalized. Considering that there are only domestic competitions this season, this lineup should theoretically be sufficient. But your reinforcement work isn't over yet. You decide to scout another young forward as a backup, targeting a promising star under the age of 18, who could also be developed into a homegrown player in the future. From a homegrown quota perspective, Rooney would be the ideal choice, but he's already a starter at Everton. Would he really come to Manchester City to be a third-choice striker? As for Suarez, Lewandowski, and Benzema, those kids are just too young right now. Right now, it's unrealistic to bring them over. After thinking, one name pops into your mind: Mario Gomez. This German striker is a genius whose career has been hampered by injuries. While he may not be in the absolute top tier, his goal-scoring efficiency is outstanding, and he's sure to become a reliable rotation striker. Most importantly, he's good-looking, so you can let Soriano use him to boost the club's popularity. Without hesitation, you take Bernstein and fly to Stuttgart, Germany. At this point, Mario Gomez is still a young player in the youth academy. So, when you tell Stuttgart's director that you want to buy him for £5 million, they agree without a second thought. You can't help but sigh. Having money really is great. Buying players is all about throwing cash around. No need for emotional negotiations, and the success rate is just that high. Mario Gomez smoothly joins Manchester City's youth academy, and as soon as the new season starts, if the team suffers any injuries, he'll be able to step up to the first team and get some playing time. Alright, with that, this season's transfer business is basically wrapped up. This summer, Manchester City has been completely transformed, but the squad is full of new faces. How to mold them into a cohesive unit will all depend on Van Gaal's abilities. Fortunately, it's only early July now, so Van Gaal still has more than a month to work on integrating the squad. But just then, Van Gaal comes to you with another request. We need to upgrade the club's training and youth facilities so the players can train better. After all, he spent 9 years at Ajax as a coach and is a master of youth development. So you definitely have to listen to his advice. You immediately call Sandesi over and tell him, Van Gaal wants to upgrade the training equipment, go figure out how much it'll cost. The moment he hears it's going to cost more money, Sandesi's face instantly falls. Boss, you really don't feel pain spending money, do you? There's only 45 million left, and you still want to spend on equipment. I'm afraid we won't even keep this bit of savings. You shoot him a sharp look and say, if we run out of money, we can always earn more, but the training equipment must match our ambitions. Open up the horizons for me. After hearing this, Sandesi is almost in tears, but since the boss has spoken, how could he disobey? Having such a spendthrift boss is wearing him out. 2 days later, Manchester City officially announces they will spend £10 million to fully upgrade the club's training facilities. During this time, City also played a few friendlies. First, they easily beat championship side Ipswich Town 2-0, then drew 1-1 with newly promoted Wolves. They narrowly lost 1-2 to Bundesliga's Yellow and Blacks, Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund then lost 2-3 to La Liga powerhouse Valencia, and finally secured a 3-1 win over Atletico Madrid. Overall, the results were average. The players' coordination was still raw, but thanks to the stars' individual abilities, they could still surprise fans. During these friendlies, Van Gaal tried several new tactics and formations, showing he was exploring more options for the team. As for you weren't too concerned about these warm-up results. With so many new faces joining, it's normal for the first months to be rough. In a blink, it was already mid-August. The new Premier League season is about to kick off. This summer, Chelsea followed Manchester City's lead and started splashing cash, bringing in Crespo, Mutu, Veron, Joe Cole, Duff and Bridge all at once, which greatly boosted their strength. However, their most crucial signing was snatched away by Manchester City, which was definitely a big blow to their squad. As for Manchester United, after selling Beckham, they brought in players like Saha, Jemba, Kleberson, and Bellion. But you know in your heart that without Cristiano Ronaldo, their fighting power for the new season will be significantly weakened. Meanwhile, Arsenal is about to usher in the most glorious season in their history. Although they only signed veteran goalkeeper Lehmann and young talent Senderos, with legends like Henry, Pyrrhus, Ljungberg, and Vieira, they are still the strongest contenders for the title. Of course, Newcastle and Liverpool will also be tough opponents for Manchester City this season. On August 16, 2003, the first round of the new Premier League season began, with Manchester City away to Charlton. This match set off a media frenzy. For Manchester City's debut, many looked forward to it, while others waited to see them fail. At the pre-match press conference, a reporter asked Van Gaal, "Mr. Van Gaal, Manchester City's warm-up matches were average. Will that affect your expectations for the season?" Van Gaal smiled and replied, "Pre-season friendlies are for experimenting with lineups. They don't really mean anything." Another reporter asked, "So have you decided on your starting lineup based on pre-season games?" Van Gaal's expression turned serious. "Everyone in the team has a chance. I select players based on their form, nothing else." But the reporter still wouldn't let up and pressed further. "So what's your goal for this match?" Van Gaal answered firmly and decisively with 3 words: a winning start. An hour before the match, Manchester City's starting lineup was finally announced. Van Gaal went with a 4-2-3-1 formation. The goalkeeper was Van der Sar. The back line, from right to left, was Sun Jihai, Uchvalusi, Distin, and Johnson. The 2 holding midfielders were Makelele and the team's beloved Action. The attacking midfield core, without a doubt, was Ronaldinho. Supporting him on the wings were Cristiano Ronaldo and Robin, and leading the line as the lone striker up front was the Cheetah Eto'o. What kind of performance would this brand new, star-studded Lions team deliver? As the referee's whistle sounded this highly anticipated match, the match officially kicked off.